Hello, and thanks for joining me on this new journey. Bettered by a pandemic which many persons in Nigeria still believe is a scam of the government, by the government, and for the government. But after scouting and traveling to different parts of Nigeria, I dare say the pandemic is no scam. The pandemic is the coronavirus, also known as the COVID-19, which has enveloped the year 2020 globally. And this program is the Untold Stories. On the Untold Stories, you will listen to survivors of the COVID-19 tell their stories. When I say survivors, I mean Nigerians who have contracted the virus, been treated for it, and are alive, as well as relations of Nigerians who contracted the virus but passed on as a result of it. I am Tobore Ovore. Once again, thanks for joining me on this new journey. Please, I'll be right back. In this first edition of the Untold Stories, I chatted with Lucy, a Nigerian journalist who lives in Anambra State in southeast Nigeria. She didn't contract the COVID-19 alone, her husband did as well, and here is their story.
My name is Lucy Osuizimo Okechukwu. I just survived COVID-19. It all started in mid-May when my husband took ill and we went to the hospital where we registered for health insurance scheme. They carried out tests and said he had malaria and he was given anti-malaria drugs. I think the dose was for 5 days, and after he finished his medications, he still wasn't feeling better, but we said maybe with time he might get better. A week after that, which was precisely 27th of May, I had fever and I had pounding headache. I started to watch myself for 1 or 2 days, and on the 29th, I was on the third day, I couldn't get out of bed. I was feeling extremely tired. I had sore throat. I was running temperature. I had headache. And my husband had to take me to the hospital that morning before going to work. And at the hospital, they first asked if I was pregnant, and I said no, I menstruated like a week before. And they carried out tests, malaria and wider. The malaria was positive. They gave me anti-malaria drugs, and I started on that day, which was on the 29th. Then after like two days, I lost my sense of smell and taste. I was cooking, it was tasteless in my mouth. My environment was odorless. I couldn't perceive anything. I couldn't smell anything. And I couldn't taste anything. As a health writer, I know that losing sense of taste and smell were part of COVID-19 symptoms. So I actually became worried. I thought maybe because I was on medication, the malaria, that I would feel better. After like 3 days, it lingered. And my husband came back too and complained that he couldn't smell or taste anything too. At that point, I just knew something was wrong. So what I did was to call Professor Sunday Omilabu, who works at Luke. And I told him what was going on. And he just told me plainly that I should go, or we should go to where we can have ourselves tested for COVID-19. I thanked him for his advice, but I didn't take him serious. Then we had to call the doctor who attended to us when we went to our NHIS hospital, and he booked an appointment for us that we should come back and see him so that he can re-examine us. And that was on the 3rd. And that morning, when we were preparing to go see him on the 3rd of June, he called to say we shouldn't bother coming, that he consulted with colleagues and he's advising us to go and do COVID-19 test. At that point, we realized we have to. As in now, 2 people had advised us to do the same. So on the 4th of June, we called the emergency health center and they asked us to come. So we went to their office and they carried out the test. Prior to that time, I thought the test was a big deal. But when they inserted the cotton stick inside our nostrils and the throat, I realized it wasn't a big deal. So I was like, at that point, we joked about it like, it's malaria, it can't be COVID, we'll be fine. So they told us to go and quarantine ourselves until result comes out. And on Friday, which was 5th of June, Saturday, 6th of June, we didn't get any call. So we just concluded that we were negative, our results were negative, and we didn't have to bother about COVID 19. Then on Sunday morning, as early as 7, they called my husband and then they told us that our results came out positive. We should pack our bags. They are coming to pick us to the isolation center. When my husband told me, I didn't take him serious. I was like, he might be joking or playing pranks. Then I told him to give me that number. Let me call and be sure. That cannot be true. He gave me the number. I called and I told him, he just called my husband. Are you joking or is that the truth? And he told me, how would he be joking? That our results came back positive. That we should get ready in the next 2 hours. They are coming to pick us. So I told him, get ready how? He said, pack our bags. That because we'll be staying there for the next 10 to 14 days. Depending on our condition. I became depressed, I became frustrated, I became angry, I became confused. It was just a mixture of many feelings. I couldn't talk to my husband, he didn't talk to me. We were quiet in our house for some time and we just didn't know where to start from. And after like 2 hours, he called the number again and said, so you're saying we're COVID-19 patients and we're going to isolation center? The doctor wanted to get angry. I said, are you people not prepared yet? We are coming to your house to pick you. So at that point, started packing the few things we will be needing, and we couldn't even call friends and families to tell anybody because we were not even sure what we're dealing with. So we told them not to come to the house, that we'll meet up with them somewhere so that we don't begin to raise suspicion in our compound or our area due to stigma. So we got ready and we met with the ambulance somewhere along the road and we hopped in. So I realized we're not alone. They picked up 2 other people too and we're 4. And that was on the 7th of June. We got to the isolation center and that was how they started treatment. They were giving us drugs. I was curious, so I was trying to find out what the drugs were. They said zinc and vitamin C and I think vitamin B or so. Like 7 different drugs were given to us. Chloroquine too was there. And that night they give us just vitamin C. So the isolation center was okay. They were feeding us well, morning, afternoon, night. They come and ask you what do you want, and they feed you based on what you want. They were giving us fruits, they were giving us vegetables, and the doctors, while I was interacting with them, they said no cure, or that the medication they are giving us or the treatment is to boost our immunity so that we can fight the infection. So we were 12 in a ward, 12 of us, and every day we wake up and pray, try to be positive and try to encourage ourselves and talk to ourselves and share our experiences every day like that. It was a comfortable place because the environment was clean, constant power supply, constant water supply too. We were getting by until they came back and on the 5th day took our samples again and then the results came out and they said it was negative and they told us to write the names of our contacts, those we've come in contact with, their phone numbers, which we did. So we spent from the 7th to 15th of June. We were discharged on the 15th of June alongside 4 other people. We were categorized as asymptomatic patients. So at that point, I think I felt better. The headache, the fatigue, the sore throat, they are all gone, except for the sense of taste and smell. I can taste perfectly now, but the smell is still, let's say, 60%. I have to really move closer or concentrate before I can actually perceive or smell something very well. And they advised us to take more vitamin C, take zinc, eat fruits and vegetables, and boost our immunity so that we cannot be reinfected and we can be better. Okay, after we came back and we realized we are still alive and okay, we decided to tell some of our families and friends about what we went through. And many didn't believe us. As a journalist, while I was there, I was secretly videoing the doctors, videoing the arena there, so that I can show and convince people that actually I was isolated for days. So some of them I had to show them those videos before they believed me. And one thing that made me want to start talking about this thing is one of us who was there lost his cousin. And what happened was that the guy tested positive. He was also called on phone like we were called to come for treatment. But he refused because according to the commissioner when I was talking to him later, the commissioner for health, he said the guy rained curses on him and said, "It's your mother and father that has COVID. I don't have COVID." So he didn't come for treatment. He refused to be picked up. Before we left there, like a day before we left there, they wheeled the guy into the theater. According to the commissioner, because they didn't allow us see him, according to the commissioner, he said the guy had underlying health issue, that he was diabetic, and that by the time they brought him to the hospital, he already had issues with shortness of breath, and I think he called some hypoxia, so that his case was already severe, and it was a late presentation, but they tried, and after like 3 days, the guy died. We had left, and we now heard that he died. So since then, I said it could have been me, it could have been my husband or somebody else, because we don't have this culture of checking our health status in Nigeria. We don't. Many of us don't even know we have underlying health issues. Like the guy, I'm sure if he had come in early and started treatment, maybe they would have saved him. But he came in late and he didn't even know he was diabetic. And at that point, he died. And he had managed to also, when he refused coming and was going about his normal life, he has managed to even spread the disease to some other people. And the problem here is it might affect many people. You don't even know those who have strong immunity to survive it. So this is why I decided to come out and talk, educate people, try and convince people, because I was one of those who was saying it wasn't real until it happened to me. So it is actually real, but few of us might be lucky to survive it, while some will not. So I just urge Nigerians to adhere to those precautions, to those safety precautions, so that we can save more lives, so that we can record low deaths.
This is the Untold Stories, and everything you've heard so far actually happened in Anambra State, southeast Nigeria. We can kick COVID 19 out of Nigeria by cleaning our hands frequently with soap and water, making regular use of hand sanitizers when we don't have soap and water close by, maintain at least 1 meter distance from other persons, cover a sneeze or cough with a tissue or bent elbow, and immediately dispose of tissue in a closed lid bin, and avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Thanks so much for being a part of today's edition of the Untold Stories. My COVID 19 non fictional travels continues. Please join me in the next edition, in which I will bring to you the heart wrenching story of Ivie, a relation of a Nigerian who didn't survive his fight against the COVID 19. I am Tobore Ovore, and I'll be right back with more Untold Stories. This report was facilitated by the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, WSCIJ, under its COVID-19 Reality Check project.